have a moment for you here from Fox Business, where Fox Business host Larry Kudlow is interviewing Republican Senator Ron Johnson. And Larry Kudlow on Fox, right? He's a conservative, absolutely a right-winger, and he's perfectly fine pushing dishonest narratives. In a different moment during this interview that we won't look at, he was being very dishonest about the Durham investigation. But here, even Larry Kudlow seems to be recognizing that this GOP investigation into Biden's bribery and how he was bribed as vice president, they can't provide the evidence. Oh, wait, they have an informant. They're going to show us the evidence because the informant has the evidence that Biden was bribed. And then, oh, the informant disappeared. We don't know where the informant went. We've talked about it. They held a press conference, had to admit, okay, we don't have evidence necessarily of criminality on the part of Joe Biden or any connection to what we're saying, but we have a lot of theories and all of that. So even Larry Kudlow has observed these facts and gone, you really don't have evidence right now. And he asked Ron Johnson this, and very interesting here.
Biden himself, as vice president and maybe as president, has not yet been clearly fingered. The so-called bribery allegations, pay for play by national, affecting some kind of...
Okay, I have to say it. Okay, I do. I try to keep things above board. That's not the phrase. I try to keep things professional here. I really do. Why do you have to use that wording, Larry? Really? Come on.
Policies. Hasn't that last step or two, Senator Johnson, we haven't really fingered him. And I don't know how important this informant is. I don't know if there's anybody else that could do it, but it seems to me that's going to leave a very big missing link.
Well, we need all the bank records. I know James Comer hasn't been able to get all the bank records. But let's face it, criminals hide their criminal activity. They don't make it easy for people to uncover their wrongdoing. And so these investigations are painstaking. You've got to, pick at one piece of evidence and try and follow that thread to the next piece. And again, when you've got a complicit and corrupt media that won't report the truth that shows that in terms of all the evidence we already do know of the corruption of the Biden family, but we still elect this guy president and they're still covering up for him. It's a real issue.
What? So his answer is criminality gets covered up? Yeah, wait, okay. But you're the one making the claim that Biden's corrupt. And then you get asked, okay, but you don't have any proof of that. And you say, yeah, that's because the proof gets covered up. That's not how that works. So I can make any claim about anyone, and then when they say, well, you don't have evidence, I go, I know, I mean, that's what criminals do. They cover up the evidence. What you gonna do? I don't know about that, Ron. And this is the absurdness of, the absurdity of this whole charade by Republicans. And we've seen similar answers from a lot of Republicans when asked about this subject, because you're going to make a fool of yourself whenever you're making the most outrageous, unbelievable claims about a president and you don't have the evidence. Now, if Biden was bribed, definitely prosecute him. But he would have to have been bribed. You would have to actually show that he was bribed, and you haven't done that. And when you had your big piece of evidence in the form of this informant, they vanished for some reason, which, yeah, it was the deep state that made them disappear, or they never existed. On this subject, Jared Moskowitz, a Democratic congressman, nicely poked fun at the informant part of this during a recent hearing.
I know you got stuff going on. You're trying to find, the fake informant that you've now has gone missing. I know you're busy with that. But I'm hoping that perhaps the Oversight Committee, if they're so worried about, federal overreach, perhaps they can start, being focused on real government oversight. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Yeah, they do have a lot going on. The missing informant for their bogus investigation. It's a stressful time. I get it. But this is all, again, as I will continue to repeat, this is all an effort to distract from the fact that while the Democratic Party is far from perfect, they actually put forward policies that would improve the lives of their constituents. Now, not enough, absolutely. Sometimes they definitely take actions that are supportive of the powerful and not actually serving their constituents. But often, as we've seen, especially recently during Biden's first term, policies have been successfully passed, implemented, that benefit the lives of the constituents, of the people who are supposed to be serving those constituents, whether it be infrastructure, lowering prescription drug costs, healthcare related policy, and investing in green energy, things that matter. And so Republicans have to distract from the fact that when you compare that to what they're doing, which is, okay, how do we find different ways to reshape, rebrand, trickle-down economics when it comes to our economic policy? How do we come up with different ways? We'll talk about later Kevin McCarthy wanting to add work requirements when it comes to Medicaid and raising the work requirement age from 50 to 56 for food stamps. And it's yet another example of that. I don't know, the working class and low-income people are really getting too much. This is we gotta make sure those who are already wealthy get enough money. They need more of a tax breaks for them, and pinch the pennies when it comes to programs that benefit low-income people. Go absolutely bonkers when it comes to pushing wealth in the direction of those who are already wealthy. That's kind of the policy we've seen for a very long time now from the GOP. And so while they'll throw red meat to their base when it comes to culture issues, and they'll scream about woke this, woke that, their actual governing does not benefit their constituents. And so because of that, they have to distract from that reality. They have to distract from the fact that if you voted in your interest, the Democrats would win so many more elections if most people would just vote in their economic and general interest when it comes to a voter in this society. And the way they distract is through stuff like this, through investigations that, even though, as Larry Kudlow very elegantly said, they aren't clearly, Biden hasn't been clearly fingered by this investigation yet, by the evidence. Larry Kudlow was right in saying that. But they'll still go with the narrative that he was. And that's to distract from their bad policy positions. My goodness.